Welcome to the Conflict Zone, a channel dedicated to informing about major conflict points around the world.
In this video, we will discussing the reasons behind Vladimir Putin's decision to significantly loosen and simplify the use of nuclear weapons.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest news.
Whenever we talk about nuclear weapons, it's crucial to clarify a fundamental point. What exactly is the purpose of these weapons? Contrary to what many might think, nuclear weapons are not offensive in nature. A country does not use its nuclear arsenal to solve a regional dispute with a problematic neighbor, nor does it deploy nuclear weapons to settle a conflict with an adversary using only conventional weapons. Instead, nuclear weapons serve as a deterrent, a kind of life insurance, signaling to other nations, especially nuclear powers, not to dare to use nuclear weapons. This also works to limit the resources employed in conventional wars. This concept is known as nuclear deterrence and to varying degrees is practiced by all nuclear powers. Some nations have well-defined policies and clear rules regarding nuclear deterrence, outlining specific scenarios in which these weapons could be used. Most nuclear powers share a common principle. They will not engage in a first strike, meaning they agree not to use their nuclear weapons as an offensive measure to initiate a conflict. Essentially, this forms a tacit understanding that each nation reserves the right to use its nuclear arsenal only in response to a prior nuclear attack. If all nuclear powers adhere to this rule, a global nuclear war can be avoided. However, this changed on Wednesday, September 25th, when Vladimir Putin decided to alter this principle. Like other nuclear powers, Russia has historically maintained clear guidelines on the use of nuclear weapons. In the previous review of these rules, also undertaken by Putin a few years ago, it was made explicit that Russia would not use nuclear weapons for a first strike, but would reserve their use only in response to a prior nuclear attack or in the face of a conventional assault that threatened the survival of the Russian state. These rules were similar to those of countries like the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. However, Putin's latest revision dramatically changes this. According to the new guidelines, the conditions for Russia to use nuclear weapons have been significantly relaxed. From now on, if Russia is attacked with conventional weapons by a non-nuclear country that is being supported by a nuclear power, Putin will consider it as if Russia is under attack by a nuclear-armed nation, justifying the use of Russia's nuclear arsenal. Another major change includes the use of nuclear weapons in response to large-scale aerial assaults on Russia. If Russia were to be attacked by drones or missiles in a massive strike, even with conventional weapons, Putin would consider nuclear retaliation. Additionally, a new clause has been added stating that if Belarus, led by dictator Alexander Lukashenko, is attacked, even with conventional weapons, Russia would respond with nuclear force. Finally, another new rule states that if a non-nuclear country creates what Putin refers to as a critical risk to Russia, he reserves the right to respond with nuclear weapons. Essentially, this means that much of what Ukraine is currently doing, such as the incursion into Russian territory in Kursk and the drone attacks on Russian refineries and ammunition depots, could now justify a nuclear response from Putin. But why has Putin made the use of nuclear weapons so much easier? The best explanation is fear. Russia is making progress in Ukraine, but at an agonizingly slow pace and at an enormous cost in human lives. At the current rate, it would take Putin at least 5 years to conquer just the Donbass region of Ukraine, with an estimated loss of at least 1.5 million Russian soldiers. Meanwhile, Ukraine's drones are turning Russian refineries and massive ammunition depots into smoke, and the once powerful Russian Black Sea Fleet has lost more than 20% of its warships to a country that doesn't even have a navy. Recently, Ukraine has begun receiving F-16 fighter jets and may soon be authorized by the United States and the United Kingdom to use long-range Western weapons against targets inside Russia. Despite Russia's slow and costly advance, Ukraine is holding more than 95% of the front line and is simultaneously making gains in Kursk while launching attacks on strategic installations within Russian territory. Therefore, the war is not progressing the way Putin would like, and the outlook may worsen, especially with the potential approval for Ukraine to use long-range Western weapons. Putin knows that if things continue as they are, the war will drag on even longer, and above all, become increasingly costly. This fear is what has driven Putin to dramatically ease the rules for using nuclear weapons. His goal is to scare Ukraine's allies, showing them that if they continue down this path, he may resort to nuclear strikes against Ukraine. The problem for Putin is that if he uses nuclear weapons in Ukraine, NATO has already stated it would view this as an indirect nuclear attack, with the potential to escalate into catastrophic scenarios. One such scenario could involve NATO troops entering Ukraine, while another could be a large-scale nuclear war if Putin, in desperation, targets NATO member countries. In summary, Putin is afraid and is now raising the stakes to try to intimidate Ukraine's allies. The question remains whether he will succeed in doing so.
Агрессию против России со стороны любого неядерного государства, но с участием или при поддержке ядерного государства предлагается рассматривать как их совместное нападение на Российскую Федерацию. Также четко фиксируются условия перехода России к применению ядерного оружия. Будем рассматривать такую возможность уже при получении достоверной информации о массированном старте средств воздушно-космического нападения и пересечении ими нашей государственной границы. Имея в виду самолеты стратегической или тактической авиации, крылатые ракеты, беспилотники, гиперзвуковые и другие летательные аппараты.
If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with the latest news. See you in the next video.